All right, let's jump right in. We've got a deep dive today all about aquatic plants.
Cool.
A listener wrote in wanting to learn more about them. They specifically pointed us to this blog post from qianeng.org. The blogger, Eng, describes himself as an old software plumber,
Okay.
but clearly they're also a passionate fish keeper. Eng is doing these awesome experiments with different plants,
Oh,
trying
cool.
to figure out which ones do best in their outdoor ponds.
I love that.
It's such a hands-on approach, like a real citizen scientist.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's so great that they're taking the time to really see what works best in their specific setup. You can pick plants based on how they look all day long, but what really matters is how they actually thrive in your environment. It's invaluable knowledge for anyone who keeps fish.
For sure. So this particular post is an update on Eng's experiment. They're focusing on common salvinia. And it's been about 2 weeks into the trial. From what they're describing, it seems like the salvinia is absolutely flourishing.
Yeah, all those new bright green shoots are a great sign. It means the salvinia is taking root and adapting well to Ang's pond. It's like you can almost hear the plant saying, "Hey, I'm home."
Uh-huh. I love that. But it's funny because Eng actually mentions that salvinia isn't their favorite plant aesthetically.
Right. It's not exactly the most show-stopping, glamorous specimen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they acknowledge that it's a real workhorse when it comes to functionality.
Yeah, you got to look beyond appearances sometimes, right?
Like,
Sylvania might not win a beauty contest, but it's a lifesaver, especially for baby fish, fry.
for sure.
All those floating leaves provide excellent cover, which helps protect the fry from predators. Plus, the underside of those leaves is like its own tiny ecosystem.
Whoa, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
Well, you get all sorts of tiny creatures clinging to those leaves, little crustaceans, insect larvae, microorganisms. It's basically like a little buffet for the fry, packed with all the perfect starter foods they need.
So it sounds like salvinia is shaping up to be a real contender, even if it's not the most visually stunning plant in the pond. But 2 weeks is still pretty early in the game, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're just getting a glimpse of how things are going right now. Some aquatic plants are really slow starters. They need more time to adjust and acclimate. It'll be interesting to see how the salvina develops over the coming weeks and months.
I'm hooked already. It's like we're getting a front row seat to Eng's aquascaping journey. Now, I'm really curious, what other plants are part of this experiment?
Well, in this post, Ang mentions that they're also trying duckweed and water sprite.
Okay.
They're both super fascinating plants, each with its own set of unique characteristics, which makes me wonder what Ang's ultimate goal is here.
Hmm.
Are they trying to solve a specific problem, or are they aiming for a certain balance in their ponds?
Those are some great questions. Like you said earlier, it's clear that Eng is thinking beyond just aesthetics. They're really taking into account the overall health and balance of their ponds.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole thing so compelling, right? It's about seeing the bigger picture, understanding how all these different plants interact, and ultimately making informed choices based on your specific needs.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got Salvinia off to a good start. It's showing real promise. But what about those other contenders? Let's move on to duckweed. What makes it so unique in the world of aquatic plants?
Well, duckweed is kind of notorious for its growth rate. It can spread like wildfire across the surface of a pond,
Oh, wow.
which can be awesome if you want to quickly establish cover and shade, but it can also be a bit of a double-edged sword.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. It's a bit of a handle with care kind of plant.
Yeah, exactly. Too much duckweed can actually become a problem. It can choke out other plants, like competing for resources.
Mhm.
And it can even restrict oxygen exchange in the water. Plus, it can just make the pond look a little unkempt if there's too much.
So Eng's going to have to keep a close eye on that one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It sounds like finding the right balance is key with duckweed. Not too much, not too little, just the right amount to get those benefits without it taking over the whole pond.
Exactly. It's like finding that Goldilocks zone.
What a balancing act.
And that's where Aang's methodical approach really shines. By carefully observing the plants over time, they'll be able to make those adjustments and figure out what truly works best for their setup. It's a great reminder for all of us that aquascaping is a dynamic process. It's always changing and evolving.
Right, it's not just a one and done kind of thing.
Okay.
Let's shift gears a bit now and talk about water sprite. What makes this plant stand out from the crowd?
Well, unlike salvinia and duckweed, which are both floating plants, water sprite is a submerged species.
Oh, okay.
So it grows underwater, creating a completely different type of habitat for the fish and other creatures living in the pond.
It's like an underwater forest then. providing shelter and hiding places beneath the surface.
Exactly. That's a great way to visualize it. And because it's submerged, water sprite also plays a vital role in maintaining good water quality.
Hold on, tell me more about that. How does a plant help with water quality?
So water sprite, along with many other submerged plants, actually absorbs nutrients directly from the water column. They basically act as a natural filter, removing excess nitrates and phosphates.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's not just about creating habitat and providing cover, it's actually actively contributing to a healthy pond environment.
Exactly. That's why having a good mix of different plant types can be so beneficial. Each species brings its own strengths to the table.
This is making me think about my own little water garden at home. It's not just about choosing plants that look pretty, it's about understanding their role in the overall ecosystem.
Absolutely. And that's what Aang is demonstrating with their experiment. It's about moving beyond just aesthetics and considering the practicalities. What does your pond need? What will benefit your fish? These are the questions we should all be asking.
Okay, so let's recap here. We've got salvinia, the potential fry haven, doing well. Then there's duckweed, the rapid spreader that needs careful management. And lastly, we have water sprite, the underwater filter and habitat creator. What a diverse lineup. It's like Aang is assembling a team of aquatic superheroes, each with their own special powers.
I love that analogy. Each plant has its own role to play, contributing to the overall health and balance of the pond. It's like building a diverse ecosystem where every species matters. Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive episode 2024-12-18, part 2 of 3. It's like building a diverse ecosystem where every species matters.
So let's dig a little deeper into those superpowers, shall we? We touched on duckweed's rapid growth rate, but I'm curious about those potential downsides you mentioned. Could it actually harm the pond if it gets out of control?
It definitely has the potential to become invasive. Imagine a thick blanket of duckweed covering the entire surface of the pond. That would block sunlight from reaching other plants below and essentially suffocate them.
Oh, wow, I hadn't thought about that. It's like a competition for resources.
Yeah.
And duckweed sounds like it could be a pretty fierce competitor.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about the plants either. That dense mat of duckweed can also mess with oxygen exchange, at the surface of the water, which can be bad news for fish and other aquatic life.
So it sounds like Aang's going to need to be pretty strategic about managing that duckweed.
For sure.
Any tips on how they might do that?
Well, regular skimming is one way to keep it in check, literally just using a net to scoop out the excess duckweed. And there are also some fish species that love to munch on it, so introducing a few of those could be a natural way to control the growth.
Ah, that's a neat idea, using nature's own solutions.
Yeah.
It seems like with duckweed, it's all about finding that Goldilocks zone, right?
Exactly.
Enough to provide the benefits, but not so much that it takes over.
You got it.
What a balancing act.
And this is another great example of why that careful observation is so crucial. You need to pay attention to how the plants are interacting, how they're responding to the environment, and make adjustments as needed.
Speaking of diverse habitats, water sprite offers a fascinating contrast to duckweed and salvinia. Instead of floating on top, it's submerged, creating this whole underwater world. Aang even used the term lace-like to describe the water sprite.
Oh, I love that
It
description.
really paints a picture in my mind.
It's not just aesthetically pleasing, though. That delicate structure also provides excellent refuge. For smaller fish and invertebrates, they can dart in and out of those feathery leaves, hiding from predators or just taking a break from the open water.
It's almost like water sprite is providing a different type of shelter. Compared to salvinia, salvinia is like a protective blanket on the surface, while water sprite is more like an underwater jungle gym.
I like that. And as we talked about earlier, water sprite isn't just about creating habitat either. It's also a champion when it comes to maintaining water quality.
Right, you mentioned its ability to absorb nutrients from the water. Can you elaborate on that a bit more? I'm curious about the science behind it.
Sure. So, like all plants, water sprite needs nutrients to grow. And in an aquatic environment, those nutrients are dissolved in the water. So the plant takes up those nutrients, like nitrates and phosphates, through its roots and leaves.
So it's like they're constantly filtering the water, removing excess nutrients that could otherwise cause problems, like algae blooms, for example.
Exactly. That's why having a good balance of plants is so important. They help keep the water clean and healthy for everyone.
It's amazing how these plants can have such a huge impact. It makes me wonder if Aang chose these specific plants, salvinia, duckweed, and water sprite, because they complement each other in some way.
That's a really interesting thought. It's definitely possible that Aang selected each plant to address a specific need in the pond. Salvinia for surface cover and fry protection, duckweed for that rapid growth and shade, and water sprite for underwater habitat and nutrient absorption.
Whoa, when you put it like that, it really does seem like they've built a well-rounded team of aquatic superheroes.
And we haven't even gotten to the really exciting part yet. Remember, Aang is also looking at how these plants do over time. They're observing how each species adapts, grows, and interacts.
Oh, that's right. There's still so much we can learn from this experiment. It's like a long-term study. Watching these plants shape the entire pond. I'm already eager to see what happens next. Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive, episode 2024-12-18, part 3 of 3. I'm already eager to see what happens next. It's like we're watching this miniature ecosystem in action, seeing how each little thing interacts and influences everything else. Aang's really meticulous with their observations. He gives us such valuable insight into how a pond environment works.
And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, right? It's not just reading a blog post. We're learning about these plants, sure, but we're seeing them as part of this complex web, each playing a crucial role.
For me, one of the biggest takeaways here is that we need to think beyond just aesthetics. It's easy to get caught up in wanting a pretty pond. But Aang's approach really highlights how important functionality is.
Absolutely. A pond is a living system. It's a delicate ecosystem that needs careful planning. And that goes beyond just the plants, too. You got to think about the fish, the water, even how much sunlight the pond gets.
It's like this giant puzzle, figuring out how all the pieces fit together. But it's not a static image. It's constantly changing.
And that's where Aang's long-term observations are so valuable. They're not just taking a snapshot. They're documenting everything over time. It's a real-life case study.
It makes me wonder, what kind of challenges might Aang face down the road? We've talked about the duckweed getting out of control, but what other surprises could pop up?
Well, seasonal changes are a big one. As temperatures go up and down, the plants will react differently. Some might thrive in the warmer months, others prefer it cooler. Aang might have to make adjustments, adding or removing plants to keep things balanced.
That's a great point. I hadn't even considered the impact of the seasons. A good reminder that a pond is never truly static.
Right, it's always changing. And let's not forget about the fish. As they grow, their needs will change too. Aang might have to adjust the plants again, make sure there's enough cover for the fry, and enough food for the adults.
This is making me realize how much goes into a healthy pond. It's not just throwing some plants in and hoping for the best. It's about creating a sustainable ecosystem.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And I think that's a key takeaway from Aang's experiment. Approach aquascaping with curiosity. Observe, experiment, and be willing to adapt.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Aang's aquatic adventures, I want to turn it over to you, the listener. What are your biggest takeaways from all this? What questions are still swimming around in your head?
Maybe you're inspired to try some of these plants yourself. Or maybe you're curious about other things that could influence your choices, like water chemistry or the types of fish you have.
Remember, there's no one right answer when it comes to aquascaping. It's all about observation, experimentation, and finding what works best for your unique environment.
Aang's experiment is a great example of the many ways you can create a beautiful and thriving aquatic world. So keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep diving deep.
And if your own aquatic adventures spark any new questions or insights, we'd love to hear about them. Until next time, happy aquascaping.